All right, college algebra, that is honors algebra 2 and algebra 2. Here is your first video for 5.5 to 5.8 game plan. We are starting with 5.5. This is page 1 from what we know from before. We know how to factor, okay? That is how you factor x squared plus x minus 30. What multiplies to 30 differs by 1. Positive 6, negative 5. All right, middle term's positive, so the bigger factor 6 is positive. How does x squared minus 81 factor? X plus 9, x minus 9. What multiplies to 40, and it differs by 3. 8 and 5, middle term's positive, so 8 is positive. Multiplies 20 and adds to 9, 5 and 4. What multiplies to 48 and adds to a negative 14? That is negative 8, negative 6. Ooh, guess and check. 3x plus 2, 2x plus 3. If you FOILed it out, you would get 6x squared plus 13x plus 6. All right, so how we began these notes, a little test. Find the one real solution to blank. I'm going to move over the 27. What number to the third power is 27? And that number is, in fact, 3. 3 is the one real solution. Move the 64 over. What number to the third power is a negative 64? That answer is a negative 4. And because these are both raised to the third, that means there's going to be 3 answers, not just 1. We'll talk about how we find those very soon. So here are, again, we talk about this more in actual class. These are just for if you miss. So if you have the sum of 2 cubes like you have on number 1, x to the third plus 8. X to the third is x, literally raised to the third power, and 8 is 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed. Okay, so you have the sum of 2 cubes. You take the cubed root of both, a plus b. That's how we get the cubed root. Both here, x plus 2. Then you take the first term and you square it. You take a and you square it. What do you multiply a by to get a to the third? It would have to be a squared. What do you multiply x by to get x to the third? It would have to be x squared. Let's go to the last one here. You take that second term and you square it. You got to multiply 2 by 4 to give you 8. You got to multiply b by b squared to give you b to the third. Now, we don't have an x squared or an x term here, so we had to have some cancelizations. That means got to have the opposite sign there. So if I have a plus here, this has got to be a minus, and it's the inner product, x times b. Or right here, it's a minus. The inner product is a times b. And a cubed minus b cubed would be a minus b. Oh, made a little boo-boo here. I take that first term and I square it. It's the opposite sign plus the inner product AB, and I take B or negative B, and I square it, B squared. All right. So that's how x to the third plus 8 factors. I take the cubed root of both, x plus 2. Take that first term and square it. That's a plus. This has got to be a minus. The inner product, 2 times x. Then I take 2 and I square it. Number 2, I take the cubed root of both, x minus 4. I take this first term x and I square it. If that's a minus, this has got to be a plus. The inner product, x times 4, would be 4x. Then I'm going to take negative 4, and I'm going to square it, plus 16. All right, on 5. 27x to the third minus 64. I take the cubed root of 27, that is 3. I take the cubed root of x to the third, that's x. Minus, I take the cubed root, or the third root of 64, which is 4. Take this first term, 3x, and I square it, 9x squared. If that's a negative, this is going to be a positive. The inner product, 3x times 4, is 12x. I take negative 4, and I square it, plus 16. Number 7 would give us some issues because 2 and 16 are not perfect cubes. So I factor out the 2 that they have in common. Okay, then I'm left with x to the third plus 8y to the third. And the cubed root of x to the third is x. The cubed root of 8 is 2. The cubed root of y to the third is y. So I got 2y. I take this first term x and I square it. If this was a plus, this has to be a minus. The inner product would be 2xy. And then I take 2y and I square it, plus 4y squared. 125x squared plus 64. The cubed root of 125 is 5x. Cubed root of 64 is 4. Take the first term and I square it, 25x squared. This was plus, this is minus. 5x times 4 is 20x. Take 4 and I square it, plus 16. All right, moving on here. Number 10, we got to change that to x to the fourth minus 7x squared minus 44. And we want to think of it as x squared minus 7x minus 44. What multiplies to 44 differs by 7. What multiplies to 44 differs by 7. That is 11 and 4. Middle term is negative, so 11, the bigger factor is negative. 4 is positive. But it's not going to be x minus 11, x plus 4. How do I get x to the fourth? It's got to be x squared times x squared. That is the one difference here on this page. All right. Multiplies to 5 and adds to 6, 5 and 1, x squared plus 5, x squared plus 1. That is it. So on the next 4, that is how we're going to first solve these. We're going to solve these by factoring. What multiplies to 35 differs by 2. 7 and 5, middle term's negative, so 7 is negative, 5 is positive. I use the cover-up method. X squared minus 7 is 0. X squared plus 5 is 0. I get x squared is 7. Take the square root of both sides. I get plus or minus root 7. I get x squared is a negative 5. I take the square root of both sides. Plus or minus square root of negative 5 would be plus or minus I root 5. I have 4 answers. Plus, minus, 1, 2, plus, minus, 3, 4. What multiplies 20 and adds to a negative 9? X minus 5, x minus 4. All right, cover-up method. X minus 5 is 0. X minus 4 is 0. So I get x squared equals 5. X is plus or minus root 5. I get x squared equals 4. X is plus or minus root 4 or plus or minus 2. All right, take a look at 16. What multiplies to 18 and adds to 9 is 6 and 3. X squared plus 6, x squared plus 3 equals 0. Move the 6 over. X squared is a negative 6. Take the square root of negative 6. X is plus or minus I root 6. X squared equals negative 3. Take the square root of negative 3. X is plus or minus I root 3. All right. Then what we have here is on page 4, we are solving the sum of two cubes, difference of two cubes equation. So we know how to factor this. This is going to be x minus the cube root of 64 is 4. I take the first term and I square it. If that's a negative, that's a positive. The inner product would be 4x. I take negative 4 and I square it. This time it's set equal to 0. Well, this is easy. X minus 4 equals 0. X equals 4 is your one real solution. This won't factor, or else that formula we learned on page 2 would have gone further there. We'll never factor. In fact, you're always going to get special answers with this. You got to use the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. 16 minus 64 is negative. You're always going to be dealing with the i's here, so it's going to be I root 48. Some of you guys are going to have negative 4 plus or minus 4i root 3 over 2. That's fine. But these two are going to be imaginary roots. That's going to be your one real root. So doing the number 20 here with you, same sort of deal. The cube root of 64 is 4. 4x plus cube root of 125 is 5. I take the first term and I square it. If that's a positive, that's a minus. The inner product is 20x. I take 5 and I square it, equals 0. Set 4x plus 5 equal to 0. You get your one real root of negative 5 over 4. Then I use the quadratic formula here. X equals the opposite of negative 20 plus or minus the square root of negative 20 squared minus 4 times a, which is 16, times c, which is 25, all over 2 times a. 400 minus 1600 is negative 1200. So you can just say I root 1200. Some of you are going to have 20 root 30, I believe. 20i root 30, so that's fine. Thankfully, on a 21, I just need to find the two real solutions, or else I'd be using the quadratic formula twice. So this is going to have 6 actual answers. 2 of them are going to be real. What multiplies to 27 and differs by 26? 27 and 1. Middle term is negative, so the bigger factor is negative. How do I get x to the 6? It's x to the third times x to the third. I said x to the third minus 27 equal to 0. I said x cubed plus 1 equal to 0. Move the 27 over, negative 27 over, move the positive 1 over, take the cube root of both. 3 and negative 1 are my 2 real solutions. I'd use the quadratic formula 2 other times to get the 4 other imaginary solutions. All right, so starting section 5-6, what we know from before. Use synthetic division there. Take what you're dividing by, set it equal to 0. That goes in the cubby. 1x to the third, negative 6x squared, 8x, 5. Bring down the number because a 1x to the third divided by a 1x is 1. Negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2. Add them up. Negative 2 times negative 8 is 16. Add them up. Negative 2 times 24 is negative 48. Add them up. This stands for 1x squared minus 8x plus 24 minus 43 over what you're dividing by. On number 2, 4x to the third, 0x squared, 6x, negative 9. You set x minus 3 equal to 0. 3 goes in the cubby. Bring down the 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Add them up. 3 times 12 is 36. Add them up. 3 times 42, 126. Add them up. 117 is your remainder. You start with 4x to the third, so that's going to be 4x squared plus 12x plus 42 plus your remainder over what you're dividing by. We got some practicing with factoring. What multiplies to 35 adds to 12. Got x plus 7, x plus 5. What multiplies 63 differs by 2, and 9 and 7. Bigger factor is positive because the middle term is positive. And you solve this by guess and check. That's how we can factor that one. All right, this is a good page here. Given a polynomial and one of its factors, find the remaining factors of the polynomial. Okay, so I'm telling you that x minus 1 is a factor. So if you want to find the other 2, why don't we divide to find the other 2? Set what you're dividing by. I'm telling you to do this divided by this. So set what you're dividing by, x minus 1 equal to 0. Put 1 in the cubby. 1x to the third, negative 6x squared, 11x, negative 6. Bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1, add them up. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, add them up. 1 times 6 is 6, add them up. This is a 1x squared minus 5x plus 6. That's what that means. And before we would have stopped, but I want the other 2 factors, so I need to factor this. 1 multiplies to 6 and adds to a negative 5, x minus 2, x minus 3. Those are the other 2 factors. I'm just adding 1 step. I am factoring at the end. All right, so let's try that with number 4 here. I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to pretend like I'm doing this divided by this. So I set x plus 3 equal to 0. X is negative 3. That goes in the cubby. Bring the 2 down because you're doing 2 divided by 1 there. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Add them up. Negative 3 times negative 11 is 33. Add them up. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Add them up. 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. That factors the b. It's a relatively easy guess and check. 2x minus 1, x minus 5 are the other 2 factors. All right, so we will finish this up. Same deal. I'm telling you x plus 2 is a factor. Find the other 2. So pretend like you're dividing by that. Set that equal to 0. X equals negative 2 is in the negative 2 is in the cubby. 1x to the third, 0x squared, negative 3x. 2 is my constant. Bring the 1 down. And then I'm just doing synthetic division. Multiply and add. Multiply and add. I better get a remainder of 0 because I'm telling you this is a factor. So if I don't get a remainder of 0, I need to do it again. 1x squared negative 2x1, that factors to be x minus 1 squared. There's two of them. All right, so I'm going to take that x minus 3, set it equal to 0, if that is a factor. 3 goes in the cubby. There's my 1. Bring it down. 3 times 1 is 3. Add them up. 3 times 2 is 6. Add them up. 3 times 1 is 3. Add them up. 1x squared plus 2x plus 1. That's how it factors. And in this video, probably going to let it be the last one, given that x equals 4 is a solution, that's kind of what I was testing before, to that, find the other two solutions. So if x equals 4 is a solution, 4 goes in my cubby, okay? See, like if x minus 3 from before was a factor, then x equals 3 is a solution. 3 is what went in my cubby. So 4 is going in the cubby. Bring down the 6. Do synthetic division. All right, get a remainder of 0. We know we should because x equals 4 is a solution. That 6 is for 6x squared minus x minus 2. So you can factor it. Do the cover-up method, or you can use the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then it would slowly simplify to give you 2/3 and negative 1/2. All right, I think that's good for this first video here. This is Yak Math Videos signing out.